Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is a beautiful Friday, February 6th. That is right. It is the day or the final show before the Super Bowl. A huge, huge day in sports, and we will be here to cover it all for you. We will break down who is going to win and lift the Lombardi trophy. We will break down who won the NFL awards and if they deserve to do it or not. We will also talk a final little segment on the NBA trade deadline. It has come and it has gone. Who are the big winners? Who are the big losers of this deadline? We will get into all of that and more here on the Triple Threat Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Thank you for tuning in, listening to us today. We have a lot to get to, so let's hop right into it, starting off with the NFL awards. The big story from last night in the world of sports, we have an MVP. It is one Matthew Stafford of the Los Angeles Rams. He led his team to the 5 seed in the NFC, although it looked like it was the second best record in the NFC overall. They made it all the way to the NFC championship game where they ran into a buzzsaw in the Seattle Seahawks, although they made it quite the game. Stafford had the best stats by far, counting stats, of a quarterback. He didn't do it on the ground, which is why I thought it was going to be a close battle between him and Drake May. But Matthew Stafford, who had committed on stage to be there next year, which is huge for the Rams, officially wins his first MVP award. And I think the conversation surrounding Matthew Stafford winning this MVP award has to do with the fact that he has been a fringe Hall of Famer for a while. Now, he was on the Lions forever, and that's going to make you a fringe Hall of Famer because a lot of people like to see success and wins, even though wins are not a quarterback stat. That is something that people like to see. That is why guys like Eli Manning are not going to make the Hall of Fame very quickly. We've seen him miss now 2 years in a row, and we'll get into the Hall of Fame in a second, but that's the reason why he keeps slipping down. That's the reason why, because he was 500, just above 500 in his NFL career, right? Eli Manning wins games. He's won big games, and Matthew Stafford has been able, when he gets into the playoffs, to go on deep runs. But his legacy before heading to LA was always stat patter, was always he's doing this just to get his numbers up. The Lions suck and he's not that guy. He always has been that guy. And everybody that's watched him can tell. He is given 2 of the best wide receiver seasons to his wide receiver ones in Cooper Kupp in 2021, and of course that Megatron season that goes down in the legend books. But Matthew Stafford wins his first MVP. He is going to be a Hall of Famer. This absolutely cements it. He's won now an MVP. He has won a Super Bowl MVP, and Matthew Stafford is ready for the big time. So congratulations to Matthew Stafford, your AP MVP for the NFL in 2025-2026. The AP Coach of the Year, we continue going. Mike Vrabel. Congratulations, Mike Vrabel. He wins his first, or not his first, I believe he won one in Tennessee as well, wins another Coach of the Year, his first season with the New England Patriots, taking them all the way to the Super Bowl with the chance to win it on Sunday, just 2 days from now. We, of course, will preview the Super Bowl later, but Mike Vrabel is here, and he is the Coach of the Year. He beat out a lot of strong candidates. I think there were a lot of great options. In fact, all 5 of the finalists, I think, deserve to win the award. Again, this is another one that wasn't quite my pick, but I completely understand. This is a guy that's well-deserving of AP Coach of the Year, and this is a guy in Mike Vrabel that's been able to just completely coach it up. We also saw Josh McDaniels win Assistant Coach of the Year. That's the reason why I didn't think he was going to win Coach of the Year, because I thought McDaniels would win Assistant Coach of the Year, and they would give Coach of the Year to a different head coach, so they didn't just give it to one staff. But that Patriots coaching staff is double awarded tonight as they win both the Coach of the Year with Mike Vrabel and the Assistant Coach of the Year with Josh McDaniels. The Comeback Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey. He was my pick for Offensive Player of the Year, so no surprise that coming off of a major injury, McCaffrey wins Comeback Player of the Year for the San Francisco 49ers. JSN, Seahawks wide receiver, takes home the Offensive Player of the Year. He was favored. He was always going to win this award based on the odds. I really don't think this is the one award, the only award that they gave out last night that I completely disagree with. Look, JSN is great, and I don't want to take anything away from him because he had a fantastic season. Nearly 1,900 yards, led the NFL in receiving. But Christian McCaffrey had a better offensive season. Puka Nacua had a better offensive season. You could argue that Bijan Robinson had a better offensive season. I would have put him fourth in Offensive Player of the Year voting. And again, that's still a feat. Fourth in the entire league is crazy. So I'm not trying to put hate at JSN over here. But I just don't think this season, what he had, he was the best offensive player. It just simply put, I don't think that was him. He is a guy that deserves the award for what he's done. But I would have given it to McCaffrey because the 49ers collapsed without McCaffrey, and I think that the Seahawks could survive a game or two without JSN. But he's also been the engine that gets them to go, so it's not, again, necessarily the worst one. If you had to ask me which one that I would change 100% of the time, it would be the AP Offensive Player of the Year. The other ones, I understand. Of course, the easy one, Myles Garrett wins Defensive Player of the Year, broke the single-season sack record. That is easy. Shout out to Myles Garrett. He deserves all the success. He's going to rot away in Cleveland for the rest of his career, most likely. The Defensive Rookie of the Year and the Offensive Rookie of the Year, we saw non-quarterbacks and non-pass rushers, which is pretty crazy. T-Mac. This is something I learned working Radio Row the other day. Tetroa McMillan does not respond to Tet. So if you ever see him in the wild, call him T-Mac. Otherwise, he's going to blow you off. He is T-Mac, not Tet. T-Mac, Tetroa McMillan, wins the Offensive Rookie of the Year, over 1,000 yards, helped lead the Panthers to the playoffs with Bryce Young, 7 touchdowns on the season. Congratulations on winning Offensive Rookie of the Year, T-Mac. The AP Defensive Rookie of the Year goes to Carson Schwessinger. There was a little bit of a debate here on our show about whether that would go to Schwessinger because of the counting stats or whether that would go to a guy like Nick Manwari. It always goes to the counting stats. That's what we know. The AP voters aren't necessarily looking at these big next-gen stats situations. But Carson Schwessinger, rookie for the Browns, I cannot remember the last time a linebacker won this award. It's been a very long time. It might have gone all the way back to Luke Kuechly for the last time a linebacker won the Defensive Rookie of the Year. It usually goes to a pass rusher. And when it doesn't go to a pass rusher, you give it to guys like Sauce Gardner when they play corner, when they have their big seasons. Those are the kinds of guys that usually get it. Not necessarily a linebacker. So, it is very impressive, the kind of season that Schwessinger had. Congratulations to those two. They have a long career ahead of them. There was also a brand new award given out yesterday. The Protector of the Year. The first ever Protector of the Year goes to the best offensive lineman. They gave it to Bears guard Joe Thuney. Joe Thuney finished the season with 0 pressures. He was one of the 5 finalists, so shout out to him. I'm really happy that this award is being given out. This is a long overdue thing to recognize the best offensive linemen in the league. For too long, offensive linemen have gone unnoticed, unappreciated. They're probably the second most important position out there outside of quarterback on the offense, because if they aren't blocking their guys, your quarterback and your offense is not getting anything done. You could have the best quarterback of all time. You could have the best running back and the best wide receiver and the best coach. If you have the worst offensive line, you're not getting anything done. You're maybe a 500 team at best. That's how important the offensive line is, and it's a very tough position to get right. So shout out to Joe Thuney. Shout out to the NFL for creating the Protector of the Year award. But the other big one I would say to keep an eye on here, the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026 was announced. These guys got in. There were a couple of first ballot Hall of Famers, and I am a big fan of what they did here. There were 5 names that were inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2026. Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald, both first ballot Hall of Famers. Like I said when we did this last time, those two are locks. If you did not vote for Drew Brees or Larry Fitzgerald, you do not deserve a vote. They are both first ballot Hall of Famers, some of the best of all time at their positions. Larry Fitzgerald, top 10 wide receiver. Drew Brees, top 10 quarterback of all time. These two guys get in together, first ballot. This is way worth it. This is overdue. For as much as you can be overdue for getting inducted the first possible time you can, Drew Brees and Larry Fitzgerald, they make the Hall of Fame. Adam Vinatieri, one of the best kickers of all time, also makes the Hall of Fame. Shout out to him. Well deserved. And Luke Kuechly. This one I am frankly shocked by, and this is not a bad shock. I am so happy that they put Luke Kuechly in there because he is a guy that I absolutely think deserves to get in. Because Luke Kuechly was one of, if not the most dominant linebackers that I have ever seen in my entire life, right? You have these guys come in and he retires early. Luke Kuechly does. Kuechly is a guy that I did not think was going to get in because he retired early, but clearly that didn't matter. He was decorated enough. He's well-respected enough. Congratulations to Luke. He makes it into the Hall of Fame yet another huge accomplishment for one of the better linebackers that I have ever seen. And then the final inductee into the Hall of Fame, Roger Craig. This is the only guy that was not a modern era guy, but he is a 3-time Super Bowl champion with the 49ers, very similar to Christian McCaffrey, right? For the 49ers right now, he was one of the only 3 players in NFL history and the first player ever to have 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving in just one season. He is a Hall of Famer. Congratulations to Roger Craig. Congratulations to all of the award winners and the Hall of Fame inductees. The 5 of you will be enshrined in the Hall forever and live on in the annals of NFL history. We're going to take a quick break. When we return, we go over the NBA trade deadline winners and losers. We'll be right back here on the Triple Threat Show. Welcome back to the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is a beautiful, beautiful Friday, February 6th. It is Super Bowl Friday, the final day for teams to prepare on the weekday, the final day of Classic Radio Row. We are not there, but we are here live from my house in Virginia, ready to take you through all of the biggest news from around the world of sports. If you're just tuning in, we just finished talking about everything you need to know about the NFL awards, the 5 Hall of Fame inductees, who won the MVP, who won offensive, defensive, player, and rookie of the year. We broke it all down for you here on the Triple Threat Show. If you want to find us everywhere, you can do it. We're everywhere around the internet. We're all over the place, wherever you get your podcast. We are also online on YouTube at The Triple Threat Show, on Twitch at 3Threat Show, Instagram at 3Threat Show _, and on TikTok at _Triple Threat Show. You can check us out everywhere. Check out our podcast wherever you get them. Long form versions of our entire show uploaded in their entirety. But I digress. We have plenty to talk about, and it's not just the NFL, although the NFL is king and should be king today. They set it up in a way that you cannot be talking about much else, but the NBA trade deadline did wrap up. Who are the big winners? Who are the big losers? I've got 6 winners, and I've got 6 losers here for you. We will start off with the big losers of the trade deadline. It has to be the Sacramento Kings. This is a Kings team that is old, that is bad, that has pieces that contenders could use. A DeMar DeRozan, a Russell Westbrook if teams are willing to take on the salary. A guy like Zach LaVine who can still contribute to winning basketball. Domantas Sabonis who can still contribute to winning basketball. And let me tell you something, this Kings team is not winning basketball games right now. In fact, they're nowhere close to winning basketball games right now. That is where we are at with these teams with the way that they stand. It is horrible to see them sit on their hands and do absolutely nothing. They sat there. They had a old roster that they could flip for future assets, first round picks, even just a bunch of second-round picks and some young players to give playing time for a season when you're clearly trying to tank. Instead, you're going to roll it back with a bunch of old guys. I am supremely disappointed that the Kings could not move off of even one of those contracts. I don't know what they're asking for to get those guys out of Sacramento, but they need to get them out of Sacramento, and they need to do it quickly because this team is a dumpster fire and it's about to explode. A winner that I have for you here, we are going with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, they weren't super active at the deadline, but they did make one major move. They went out there and they got Jared McCain. Jared McCain, the second-year point guard out of Duke. They didn't give up too much for him either. They gave up a first-round pick and 3 seconds for Jared McCain, who is a proven shooter on the offensive end, can play pretty solid defense on the defensive end, and just fits really well into that Thunder style. It gives them more depth. It helps them have another guy that they can throw in for shot making in a game that isn't Lou Dort, because he will just be a liability on offense. That isn't a guy like Caruso when he does move on eventually, because he's going to get paid. He's a free agent after this season, and with how important he's been to the Thunder on their little run, their win last year, and now their huge run through the NBA, just tearing up the league right now, he's going to get paid probably somewhere else. Now, there is a chance. There's always a chance that he resigns, but bringing in a guy like McCain also helps fill in the hole that is left by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He has an abdominal strain, and the Thunder are going to reevaluate him after the deadline. That goes into the part of why they made this move. But getting McCain, a young, talented star that's cheap, that you're not going to have to pay for another couple years, is huge for this Thunder team as they have to start to make some tough decisions about where they go in the future. They've already made a bunch of Supermax extensions, giving it to Chet, giving it to J-Dub, giving it to SGA, Max and Supermax extensions. That's 3 guys on Max or Supermax contracts already. You are going to need to get these guys going, and this team is going to deal with the second apron very, very soon. So that's something to keep an eye out. The Thunder, still a big winner, getting Jared McCain at the deadline. Another loser, it's for that same trade. It's going to be the Philadelphia 76ers. I was really not a fan of this one. Look, this is a 76ers team that has momentum. When Jared McCain was on the court last year, he was probably going to win Rookie of the Year. That's how well he was playing. He stepped up when guys like Maxey couldn't control, when they were out with injury and they couldn't play 40 minutes a game. He stepped up when Joel Embiid went down with injury and missed a large part of the season. He stepped up when Paul George missed most of the season and was in and out of the lineup with injuries. I know you have VJ Edgecombe now. That doesn't mean you can't have a 6th man spot for a guy like Jared McCain. I know Tyrese Maxey is playing out of his mind, MVP level basketball. That doesn't mean he can't go down. That doesn't make him immortal. This is a huge loss for the Sixers. They give up on a guy that was supremely talented, is playing great basketball, has always shown the ability, I should say, to play great basketball at an NBA level. This is a huge mistake for the 76ers, and they got pennies on the dollar back for a guy that's going to contribute to a championship team very, very soon, maybe even as early as this season. Another winner for you, I'm going with the Los Angeles Clippers. I love what the Clippers did. Look, I was a little skeptical at first. They trade off James Harden, right? James Harden is gone. He goes to the Cavaliers. They get Darius Garland back. And while the immediate offensive output between those two guys goes towards James Harden a lot more than it goes towards Darius Garland, Darius Garland is so much younger, and he's already an all-star level guy. If he can stay out on that court, if he can stay healthy, this is a Clippers team that's going to stay as good as they are. And they're not trying to tank, clearly. They have the guys. They still have Kawhi. They held on to him. And they don't even have their first-round pick. That first-round pick goes to the Thunder. So they're going to continue to try and win games here. That is what we're looking at for a team with the Clippers. They also made another big trade. They traded away fan-favorite big man Ivica Zubac to the Pacers in what is a fascinating move, right? This is a move that we have not really seen a lot of in the history of the NBA. You have a massive trade where a big player, Ivica Zubac, goes to the Pacers, and the Pacers give up Benedict Mathurin, who's going to also help replace James Harden in the aggregate with a guy like Darius Garland. Isaiah Jackson comes over. This is the interesting part. You can protect first-round picks, and the Pacers sent 2 first-round picks and a second over. They sent their 2029 first-round pick. That's unprotected. So if the Pacers are bad in 2029, the Clippers get a great pick. They also send this year's first-round pick, which, if I'm the Pacers, that was something that I would have thought was untouchable because they don't have Hallie this year, right? And that's why they're bad. They were in the finals last season. If Hallie comes back, when Hallie comes back, you expect this team to be right back to the top of the East after a down year where they've reloaded with one of the best draft classes in recent memory, right? But instead, you trade your first-round pick this year, and you're gambling here. Now, this is the legal gamble that you can do in the NBA. This is protected the most fascinating way I've ever seen. Picks 1 through 4, those projected top 4 freshmen that everyone is clamoring for, if it is in those 4 picks, the Pacers keep their spot. Right now, it's about 50-50 on the odds if they get one of those spots. The other thing is if they fall in the lottery, if they're picking number 10 through number 30, they also keep their pick. So only if it's pick 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 do the Clippers get this first-round pick. If not, if it's any other pick in the NBA draft, they get a 2031 unprotected first-round pick. So that is potentially 2 unprotected or a great top 10 first-round pick this year for the Clippers for Ivica Zubac. That is huge. Now, they also have centers already. They've got some young guys that are ready to step up, so Zubac leaving is not necessarily the worst thing. They got younger this trade deadline, did the Clippers. They got faster. They got better assets. I'm a huge fan of what they did, and they're also one of the hottest team in the NBA. I'd like to see the chemistry build up with Kawhi because we saw the Clippers get killed in their first game without Harden. But as these stars come in, as they get healthy, as they get ready to play, we are going to see the Clippers continue with their rocket pace. I think the Nets were also losers. They had big opportunities to sell guys at the deadline. Instead, their big move was to cut a player after the deadline, right? They made a couple moves around the margins. They ate some salary. They're taking money off of teams just to get like second-round picks and build up some draft capital here, which that's what they should be doing. But the big move was cutting Cam Thomas, right? Cam Thomas is a 15-point per game scorer in the NBA, and I know there's been some problems with him in the building, but this is not a great team. You should have traded him. I guarantee you there was a suitor for him with his skill set. He's a guy that any given night can give you 40 points. He's also a guy that isn't necessarily the greatest on the defense. He has his weaknesses. He's a lot like Michael Porter Jr., but Cam Thomas is a guy that's going to get paid. He's been cut, he's been waived. Some team is going to pick him up. I think the Pistons are the team to go ahead and do that. They need a guy like Cam Thomas. I know they got some shooting already, but more shooting never hurts. It's always good to have a sniper's gallery in your on your court, just so you can spread the floor a little bit, give more space, and give a little bit less of that offensive workload to Cade Cunningham, because it's hard to keep this up for as long as they have. Another winner that I have for you here, the Boston Celtics. Now, they weren't super active, but they made a couple moves around the margins, and the big one, they trade for Nikola Vucevic. Vucevic is going to be huge. The big weakness for the Celtics this season, despite aside from not having Jason Tatum, is they didn't have a big man. Right? They didn't have their guy. They didn't have their guy down low. Now, they've been running with a couple of different guys, a couple of small ball lineups. It hasn't really worked out to the fullest extent. That's not to say that it can't, right? But they go and get a true center, someone that can play that Al Horford role. And I think he's not as good on defense as Al Horford, but he's probably better on offense than Al Horford. He can stretch the floor. That's what they like to do. A 5 that can shoot threes is huge for the Boston Celtics. I love this move. That is one of my favorite moves of the entire deadline. Another big loser for me, the Sacramento Kings. We already talked about the Kings. Another big loser for me, the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks, I mean, look, this is not their fault, but there was so much noise, there was so much chatter about Giannis getting traded, and it's not just this trade deadline. It was last trade deadline. It was this summer. It was this trade deadline. It has been a whole year of when is Giannis getting traded? Giannis is going to get traded. These are teams putting together offers for Giannis, and every single time, nothing happens. Now, that's not to say that they aren't trying, but Giannis, the Bucks forever are not one of these teams that has sat on their hands and not tried to get better for Giannis. They brought in Dame. That didn't work. When it didn't work, they found a way to cut him. They're still paying him a lot of money. And now they bring in Miles Turner, another big name. They brought in Kyle Kuzma to replace Chris Middleton. That wasn't working. They give kudos to the Bucks. They have done everything they possibly can to be successful with Giannis, but I don't think Giannis has played will play another game for the Bucks. He has gone out there and he has not officially requested a trade potentially, but it doesn't seem like the Bucks are in any rush to trade him. Now, I don't think he re-signs with Milwaukee with his player option in 2027, but that would still leave one whole year, I guess a year and a half of basketball for him to just rot there. Now, he's going to get paid $50 million next year, so rotting might be a tough term, but that is not a good look for the Bucks when they really just needed to go out and get assets, move to the future. They can't tank this year, which is probably why they did it, because they don't have their first-round pick, right? They can't get the number 1 overall pick. Best case scenario, they get the 2nd overall pick. It is really tough for this Bucks team to tank right now, because if they truly do get the 1 pick, they're not getting it. It is going to a different team, either the Pelicans or the Hawks. I forget which one. But they don't control their own pick. That is not a spot you want to be in, which is probably why they have yet to trade Giannis. Maybe they're hoping that they can get something a little bit better, maybe go on one more run and try and convince him to stay. Another big winner that I have for you, the Timberwolves. They made a couple moves, again, around the margin. They cut some salary, got off of Mike Conley, and then they made a big move for Ayo Dosunmu, right? That is a 3-and-D wing that's going to come in and absolutely replace Nickeil Alexander-Walker that they lost. That was a key piece to both of their championship, Western Conference championship runs these last couple seasons. It is huge that they're able to get these two guys. I am a huge fan of what they've done. The Timberwolves got a lot better. They cut salary. I thought that was a move to attempt and get Giannis. Obviously, I'm sure they tried. But the Bucks were not happy with whatever offer they put together. They moved off of a couple guys that they weren't interested in. They replaced them with some guys that they think will come in and immediately contribute to the team. Bones Highland started to play well, so that's another good addition. Dropped 20 points the other night. The Timberwolves, big winners here for the Triple Threat Show at the deadline. Two more losers, two more winners. The Bulls are big losers. They did not get the assets that they needed for blowing up this team. They traded away Kobe White. I am not a big fan of that. I thought you should have gotten more. He was offering first round picks for him last year, but that's what you get when you refuse to blow up the team until it's 3 years too late. You have depreciated assets. You don't get as much for Vucevic. You don't get as much for Kobe White. You don't get as much for all these players that you're moving off of. And you also go out and you get like 30 guards. They don't have they don't have a center on that roster with the way that they made these moves. They traded for Jaden Ivey. They traded for Anthony Simons. They traded for a bunch of nameless other thousands, hundreds, it seems like, of other guards go to the Chicago Bulls. No one is going to have playing time. No one is going to be happy over there. It is going to be a mess unless they just play like a simple 5-guard lineup, in which case they're going to get bullied down low, which I wouldn't be shocked if that's what the Bulls did. The Hornets are another winner for me here. The Hornets get a couple of big pieces, including Kobe White. Kobe White, that big one. They move, again, a couple guys around the edges. They thought they were going to get Tyus Jones. They traded for him from the Magic, and then they flipped him for Malachi Branham to the Mavericks. So there was a bunch of movement around, but again, you replace Colin Sexton with a guy that can shoot threes better, with a guy that's better offensively, coming off the bench. You are a red-hot team, are the Charlotte Hornets, and you add one of the better players to move at the deadline. Those are big wins. I think the Hornets are a real threat out in the East. My final loser, the Dallas Mavericks. And this is less of a one-year loser because I don't necessarily mind the move to get off of that Anthony Davis contract. In fact, I think it was probably the right thing. But what I'll say, this goes back to Luka Doncic. They traded away Luka Doncic essentially for Chris Middleton. That's what and 5 second-round picks. That's basically what they did. Now, that is unfortunate to say because Luka is one of the best players in the NBA. But that's what happened, which is why they're the biggest loser of the deadline. The Wizards, on the other hand, they're the biggest winners of this deadline. They go out there, and not only do they not have to give up any of their young players, they don't have to give up any of their big assets. They get Trae Young and they get Anthony Davis. Now, I know injuries are going to be a problem, but this team is young. This team is ready to go for it. And when you put that pairing of Anthony Davis, Alex Sarr, Trae Young, Trey Johnson, and whoever they pick in the top 5 of this draft in that starting lineup, or if they're not ready to start, Bilal Coulibaly at the 3 spot, that is going to be the best defense in the NBA. Point blank, period, stop. If all of those guys are playing, if you have Anthony Davis and Alex Sarr down low, no one is hitting a 2-point. No one is hitting a shot in the paint. There is just simply not an option there. If you hit your threes, you might be able to hit your threes, but if you have Bilal Coulibaly out there, at least one of those guys is not hitting your threes because he is one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. That is a terrifying defense, and defense finds a way to keep you in the game, and that's all you need. They get a big win yesterday over the Pistons, the number 1 seed in the East. The Wizards are rolling right now. Do not take your eyes off of them. They will be in the playoffs next year. I feel very strongly about that. They are the big winners. Those are the winners and the losers of trade deadline week. We will be back in just a second as we finish off our show going over everything that you need to know with the Super Bowl. Stay tuned. That's coming up next here on the Triple Threat Show. Welcome back to the Triple Threat Show. I am your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is a beautiful February 6th, 2026. A huge day in the NFL. It is our final show before the Super Bowl. That is right. The big game is right around the corner, and we will be here to break it down for you as the final segment before our big game. In San Francisco, the New England Patriots take on the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks led by one Sam Darnold, one of the best stories that we have seen in a very long time. Shout out to Sam Darnold. Shout out to the Seattle Seahawks. They have an elite defense. So let's start off with this Seahawks team as we break it down. How do the Seahawks win this football game? I think it's a pretty simple strategy for the Seattle Seahawks. You need to get pressure on one Drake May. Drake May is a quarterback that has played at an MVP level, was the MVP runner up this season in the NFL honors, only to Matthew Stafford, right? You see amazing plays by this guy all regular season long, but he has not stepped up in the playoffs. Now there's rumors that he's dealing with a shoulder injury. He's been limited in practice. Now, Sam Darnold has also been limited in practice, and we'll get to the injury report in a second because there are a couple of key names to keep an eye on. But the key for the Seahawks, get pressure on Drake May. All playoffs long, he's been running for his life. He's had a problem holding on to the football. He's fumbled a whole lot. Now, I'm going to attribute a lot of that to poor weather conditions, which is not going to be the case in San Francisco unless there's a freak rainstorm coming through. They have played in the snow, they have played in the rain, they've played in the freezing rain, they have played in the hail, and all along the way, they have played against three top 10 defenses, two top 5 defenses in the NFL, and they're about to add another one to the murderer's row. The Seahawks defense also top 5 in the NFL. You talk about a murderer's row of defenses, that's what you're talking about with this Patriots squad, right? They had to go through a team in the Chargers. The Chargers, who their defense extremely underrated. They are one of the best pass rushing teams in the NFL. You saw that with the way that they were able to get to Drake May. Their cornerbacks are nothing to scoff at. They don't have a superstar, but their guys all play together. They play with a lot of energy under Jesse Minter, who now is the head coach in Baltimore. That was a top 10 defense. Then they had to play what, in my opinion, was the best defense in the NFL this season, the Houston Texans, whether that be the pass rushers, which we saw get to Drake May, whether that be the corners, which we saw make plays on Drake May. That is the best defense in the NFL. They had to go through that. Then they had to play the Broncos, who also one of the best defenses in the NFL. They were the best defense last year, and they added to it. They had they were up there for the most sacks. Nick Bonito and Pat Surtain, both finalists for the Defensive Player of the Year. They were the only team with 2 finalists for the Defensive Player of the Year award. Of course, Pat Surtain won it last year. The reigning depoy. You add Talanoa Funga, you add Dre Greenlaw. That defense, no joke. And now you play the Seahawks. The Seahawks defense that is arguably the best defense in the NFL this year. The Seahawks defense that is arguably one of the best defenses of all time. Again, I'm not quite on that level because I don't think they were quite as good as that Texans defense, but still, the key for the Seahawks to win this game, and the key for both of these teams to win this game, is going to be winning in the trenches. The Seahawks and the Patriots, I would say their biggest weakness is on the offensive line, both of these teams. Neither of these teams has the worst offensive line in the league, but neither of these teams has the greatest offensive line. And both of these quarterbacks, I think if you get pressure on them, will be in trouble. Both of these guys like to hold the ball a little bit longer because they both like to bomb it downfield. Drake May throws the ball downfield at the highest rate. Sam Darnold is one of the best deep ball throwers, but that's a lot off of the play action game. So the Patriots defense needs to be ready for that. They need to be prepared to stop Kenneth Walker, and they also need to be prepared to stop the talent over the top at the wide receiver position. But keys for the game for the Seahawks: sack Drake May. Make him uncomfortable. He's a young guy. This is his second year in the NFL. Do not let him get settled. Do not let him get into a rhythm, because I think if he does, there's a real chance that this game is a barn burner and the Seahawks won't be able to keep up with that offense. The other key for the Seahawks is to get Kenneth Walker going. Look, this is a team that has Sam Darnold at their quarterback, and as much as you want to say, or as I want to say, congratulations to Sam Darnold, he is not a guy that you want to be out there to win the game. Look, I know he's playing great. I know he's won 14 games 2 years in a row, but he's done that with two elite teams around him. He's done that with two of the best wide receivers in the NFL to throw the ball to, in Justin Jefferson and now JSN, right? He's had some of the best offensive weapons in the game either place he goes. He has Rashid Shaheed to spread the field. He had Jordan Addison last year. He has A.J. Barner, who I really like as a tight end. He had T.J. Hawkinson last year. He has Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet throughout the season, now just Kenny Walker, who I still think is a top 10 running back. Last year, he had the final year of prime Aaron Jones. Again, another top 10 kind of guy. They both have pretty serviceable offensive lines. They both have great defense. The Seahawks defense is better, which is why they're in the Super Bowl and the Vikings were a first-round exit. But you look at all of these factors, and yet Sam Darnold still threw 14 interceptions this year. There are times where you can get to Sam Darnold. So, key to the game, get Kenny Walker going so you don't have to rely on Sam Darnold. And Kenny Walker will be able to get going, but it's going to be tough to run against this defensive front of the New England Patriots. The final key of the game, and this is going to be a key for both of them, is don't turn the ball over. I know it's lazy. I know it's simple, but this is what it's going to take to win the football game. You need to play clean because, again, both of these teams led by their defenses. So both of these teams, whoever can get pressure, make the other quarterback uncomfortable, the other team that can stop the run, and the team that can force the turnovers is going to win this football game. I think this is going to be very tight. I think 4.5 is the perfect number. That's the line, the over-under set at 45.5. These two teams should play a really, really tight one. There are two ways this game can go. And unfortunately, the only way that I can't see this game going for Patriots fans is a blowout for the Patriots. There are two ways. First way is the Seahawks go out there and they show why everyone's saying that they are by far the best team in football. They go out there and they dominate this team. Drake May continues his struggles in the playoffs. He can't step up in the big moments. Sam Darnold finds a way to put up points just like he has all season long, and the Seahawks shut down the offense of the Patriots. That's option number one. Option number two, and the other way that I see this going, this is a tight game throughout. Neither of these offenses get a real foothold, but a couple big plays by the defenses from both sides set them up with good field position. They're able to cash in with a couple touchdowns. We're looking at a tight game heading into the fourth quarter that the Seahawks, with their offensive talent, because let's go down the list here. I'll give the nod. We'll go position by position. Quarterback, that one goes to the Patriots. One check for the Patriots. Running back, give that one to Seattle. 1-1. Wide receivers, Seattle, 2-1. Tight ends, I'll give that one to the Patriots, 2-2. Offensive line, that goes to Seattle, 3-2 Seattle, right? Onto the defensive side of the ball. On the cornerback room, that one's pretty tight. I think I give the nod to the Patriots here just because they have the better corner, but both of these teams are very deep at that corner position. That goes to the Patriots, 4-3. The defensive line, we give that to the Seahawks, and the safeties, we give that to the Seahawks, and the linebackers, we give to the Patriots. So you see how this is a tie game, but their offensive talent, that is very much a Seahawks dominant thing. So they use their guys, they use their talent, and they make one big play down the stretch, and the Seahawks win in a close one. Avenge themselves from 10-ish years ago when Russell Wilson threw the interception at the goal line, and they lost to the Patriots. I think it's a very similar kind of game, a 24-17 kind of game, a 24-21 style game. I would take the Patriots with the points, 4.5, but I take the Seahawks on the money line to win this game. That is my final prediction. I think this is going to be a close one. We're looking at 24-21. This is going to be a great Super Bowl. I'm so excited for it. There are not that many great storylines in it, but who cares about that? Sam Darnold could complete the greatest comeback story in the history of the NFL, going from one of the biggest busts that we have seen to a Super Bowl champion who's won 14 games now 2 years in a row, or we could see the rise of a new dynasty, the New England Patriots, back once again as Drake May has led them from the depths of the second overall pick just 2 years ago now to the top of the mountain by raising the Lombardi trophy. We will have to see what happens. Stay tuned on Sunday, and on Monday, we will break it all down. But thank you, everybody, so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Triple Threat Show. I have been your host, Jeremy Lapidus. We will be back on Monday. We will go over the Super Bowl. We will go over everything that you missed from this weekend as the Olympics also kick off tonight. A big weekend in sports. We've already seen a couple of big games as the U.S. women's hockey team won 5-1 their first time. The curling has gotten started, although an electrical issue that had the power go out has stopped the Olympics in its track. We will keep you updated on the Olympics as it continues, but the opening ceremony tonight at 8 Eastern, 7 Central Time. We will be back on Monday. Enjoy your weekend. Have a great one. Bye-bye.